Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So in this video I will explain to you about probability sampling technique. Okay, so this sampling technique is the one that you use with a condition. The condition is that you must make sure that you have complete access to all the subjects in your population. You must have complete access to all the subjects in your population. What do I mean by complete access? It means that, for example, let's recall about Pak Mail. So Pak Mail, he has 230 cows, so he can go and collect data from any of his cows, from all his cows, any time of the day, because he has complete access to all the cows. So Pak Mail can use probability sampling technique in his data collection. Okay, another example, if you yourself as a student, you would like to do a research about all UMP students, if your population is the all UMP students, so you don't have access to all UMP students, isn't it? You do not have all their contact numbers. So because of that, you cannot do probability sampling technique. You can only choose the options that you have under non-probability sampling technique. So this is the number one rule if you want to use a probability sampling technique, because the first step, okay, to use these techniques, okay, any of these four techniques, okay, random, systematic, stratify, or cluster, the first thing you need to do is to number all your populations. So for example, Pak Mail, memang, okay, Pak Mail needs to number all his cow. Cow number 1, cow number 2, cow number 3, until cow number 230. So because of that, you need to have complete access to all of your population. Okay, so let's go to the first technique under the category of probability sampling technique, which is random sampling technique. So first of all, as I said just now, number one, you kena buat apa? You have to list all your population. Okay, that's number one. So you can actually write down notes as I explain to you in this video, okay? And then, so you list lah. You buat listing, You buat listing. Number one, number two, number three, until, so if Pak Mail, he has 230 cows, so he needs to list down all of his cows. Alright? Okay. After that, in random sampling technique, after you do that, step number two is to use a random number generator to choose how many cows that Pak Mail needs. So perhaps Pak Mail wants to select only 30 cows into his sample, 30 cows. So he will select the numbers out of 1 until 230. He will choose 30 numbers to be selected as his sample. But how to choose these 30 numbers? He cannot simply choose. No, this sampling technique require some calculations or some specific technique. So to choose the 30 cows, Pak Mail needs to use a random number generator. Okay, so let's write down there. Use random number generator. To apa? Untuk choose 30 cows. Okay, for example, so this is as an example. Alright, so there are several tools that you can use to generate this random number. You cannot simply choose the numbers on your own. Okay, there are softwares that you can use to generate these numbers. You can use SPSS, you can use calculator, you can Google, okay, and find out how to do it. It's even available in your Excel. Okay, ini macam R language, but you can actually also Google how to use Excel to generate random numbers. Okay, this won't be too hard for you to find out. So go and figure how to use Excel to generate random numbers. So if Excel gives you number 2, 7, 6, 10, so all the cows under number 2, 6, 7, 10, 32 will be chosen as your sample. So this is random sampling technique. Okay. When a sample is chosen at random, it is said to be an unbiased sample. Okay, so you can do it like that lah. Okay, it can be with or without replacement. Okay, this is the options that you may have in the software. Okay, so whatever it is not by doing like choosing by feelings. You need to use a certain technique to generate the random number. So this is random sampling. Okay, so you need to determine lah what is the sample size that you need. Okay, what is the sample size that you are trying to get. Alright, so that is random sampling. Very easy. Next, let us move on to systematic sampling. Okay, let's move on to systematic sampling. What about systematic sampling, guys? Okay, systematic sampling, again, you also need to list all your population. Okay, so after you list all your population, the next step is, okay, again, you need to determine what is the sample size that you want. Alright, so currently you have a population of 230. Okay, the total number of your population is 230. So let's say you want to have 30 cows in your sample, only 30 cows. Okay, so in systematic sampling, you need to calculate K. You need to calculate K. Right, so K is equals to capital N divided by N, the population size divided by the sample size. Alright, so 230 divided by 30, okay, let me get my calculator. .6667, okay. Okay, maybe I will round it up, becomes 8. Or you can also round it down to become 7. Doesn't matter, this is up to you. This is completely up to your preference. Okay, so after that, what do you do next? Okay, after you already calculate K, so now you can start to pick out your sample from all these 230 cows. So how do you do it? Now, K is, let's say kita pilih K is 8 lah. Alright, so K is equals to 8. Okay, K is equals to 8. What do you do next? Alright, so from number 1 until 8, choose a number. Any number, doesn't matter. So let's say I nak choose, this one you can choose by your feelings lah, it's up to you, it's really up to you. So let's say I want to choose number 3. Okay, I want to choose number 3. Kita select number 3 katakan. Okay, so your cows, the first cow that is to be included in your sample is cow number 3. The next cow is cow number 11. How do I get 11? 3 plus K. 3 plus 8. Get it? And you continue on until you have 30 cows. Ni. Dapat tu? Okay? You choose a number between 1 to K. So that number, so this is your first cow. And then you plus K. So 3 plus 8, 11. 11 plus 8, 19. 19 plus 8, 27. So you continue adding up, okay, plus 8 plus 8, okay, plus 8. So every 8 interval, you choose your cow. So you will end up having 30 numbers. So meaning that you will have 30 cow in your sample. Okay tak? Alright, so that is systematic sampling method. Right, is that clear? Next, let's continue on to talk about stratified sampling method. Okay, so in stratified sampling method, it is a little bit different compared to a random and also systematic. Okay, in stratified sampling method, the first thing that you do is you group your population according to a certain category. Choose one category and you group your population according to that category. For example, maybe you can group your population according to faculty. Group your population according to blood type. Contohnya lah, okay, so for this Pak Mail punya case, let's group the cow according to breeds. Let's group all the 230 cows according to breed. So number 1, group the population. So maybe Pak Mail has 3 or maybe let's just say 5 different breeds, okay? So you have group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 and group 5 of Pak Mail's cow. Breed 1, breed 2, breed 3, breed 4 and also breed 5. Okay, that is step number 1. And then step number 2, you will choose a number of subject from each group. Okay, choose a number of subject from each group. You are going to select a few from each group. Okay, maybe I should rearrange my note here. So how do you select this a number of subject from each group? You may use random sampling technique or systematic sampling technique. So after you group them according to their groups, you must choose. Okay, if let's say you want to choose random sampling technique, okay, so let's try random sampling technique. You want to use Allahu Akbar. You want to use random sampling technique. So you randomly pick. Let's say you want to choose 6 out of each group, 6 from each breed. Okay, so you use random sampling technique. So let's say the first breed. Let's say the first breed has 20 cows. So what do? You buat random sampling technique lah. So from the first breed, you list out the first cow, third cow, fourth cow until the 20 cow. So let's say the first breed has a sample of the first breed has a total of 20 cow. So let's say that's the case for the first breed. So in random sampling technique, what do? You list out 1 until 20 and then you use a random number generator to generate 6 numbers. So all the 6 cow will be selected from the first breed. Kan? Lepas tu you go to the second breed. So let's say the second breed has 32 cows. So same thing. You list number 1, number 2, number 3 until number 32. Okay, you list all the cow and then you use random number generator to generate 6 numbers. So these 6 numbers will be selected out from breed number 2. And continue doing that for the other breeds. Okay, for all the other groups. So in the end, you akan buat apa? You will select 6 from breed 1, 6 from breed 2, 6 from breed 3, 4 from breed 6 from breed 4 and also 6 from breed 5. So in total, you will have 30 cows, alright, in which there are 6 cows from each breed. So this is stratified sampling. You group them and then you select a number of subjects from each group. So you will have a representative from each breed. So this is stratified sampling technique. Get it? Then, okay, that is if you use random. If you use systematic, macam mana? Okay, if you use systematic to choose the 6 cow, okay, after you number the cow in breed 1, then you use the K lah. Kan, betul tak? Like how I explained just now. K is capital N divided by N. So in this case, you will do K. So if 20 is the breed size divided by 6. 6 is the number of cow you want to take out from each breed. So you get 3.33. So we apa orang kata? Round up, you get 4. Okay, you can also round down, it's up to you. And then you buat systematic lah. How do you do systematic? You choose between number 1 until number 4. So maybe you choose number 2. Okay, so number 2 is your first cow from breed 1. And then what is the next cow from breed 1? Number 6, number 10. You continue on until you get 6 cow from breed 1. Get it? So you can do this selection from each group using random sampling or using systematic sampling. That is stratified sampling method. Okay, next let's talk about cluster sampling method. Alright, so for cluster sampling method, number 1, you have to group the population. Same as how you did in stratified. In cluster, you also need to group the population. Okay, so you group lah. Group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say you have 5 breeds. And then the next step is you are going to choose a few group out of the 5 breeds. Okay, out of the 5 breeds, you will select a number of breed that you want. Okay, so how did you do that? That depends on you lah. How many group do you want to choose? So let's say you want to choose 2 groups. Okay, out of the 5 groups, you want to choose only 2. So how do you choose these 2 groups? Again, you choose the 2 groups using random sampling method or systematic sampling method. Random or systematic sampling method. Okay, so let's say now you say you want to choose 2 group. Alright, you want to choose 2 group. That's up to you. You can decide on that, how many group you want to choose. So you use random or systematic. So now you have group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. You use a random number generator to generate 2 numbers out of the 5 group. Okay, you have 5 options. You get the random number generator to generate 2 numbers. So let's say the random number generator generate number 2 and number 3. Okay, so all the subjects in breed 2 and breed 3 will be your sample. All the subjects in breed 2 and breed 3 will be your sample. This is cluster sampling. Okay, so in cluster sampling, you cannot really control your sample size because you don't really know what is the total number of cow that will be included. Alright, let's just say breed 1 has only 20 cows, breed 2 has 35 cows, breed 3 has 85 cows, and breed 4 and 5 and so on, macam tu lah. And then when you use random number generator, the generator give you number 1 and number 3. Okay, if the generator give you number 1 and number 3, so all the cow in breed 1 and all the cow in breed 3 will be your sample. So meaning that you will end up with 105 cows. So you cannot control your sample size. Okay, or maybe the generator will give you 1 and 2. So your population will be breed 1 and breed 2, which is 55. Am I right? So for this cluster sampling method, you cannot control the sample size. Alright, so that's really macam orang kata ikutlah nasib generator tu bagi macam mana. So you can choose the group, okay? Choose the group using random or systematic sampling. So let's say if you want to use systematic, then you kena buat cara systematic lah. Okay, you calculate K. Okay, so here K is, the total group is 5 divided by 2 because you only want to choose 2 group. Okay, so you will get 2.5, is it? Yeah, 2.5. Then you can round it up. Maybe you get 3. Okay, so obviously, if you have a very small number of groups, then it's better to use random sampling. If you have a large number of groups, then it's better to use systematic sampling. So yang ni macam small number of groups, so macam agak it's quite weird to use systematic, but we'll try anyhow. Okay, so then the first group is group number 3. Okay, and the second group is group number 3 plus 3 equals to 6, which means this is group number 1. So this is systematic sampling to choose which group you want. Alright, so the first group is 3, the second group is group number 1. Sebab mana ada group 6 kan, so dia patah balik lah. Dia patah balik, okay? Dia patah balik jadi group number 1. Okay class, so these are the 4 sampling techniques under the category of probability sampling techniques. Please continue to read on the advantage and disadvantages of all these sampling techniques. Okay, so for example here we can see that for random sampling technique, the advantage is that each data has an equal chance to be selected. Contohnya, systematic sampling technique, the advantage is that you have a high degree of representativeness because it's like interval kan, systematic tu, like you will get a representative from each part of the population. But for stratified sampling technique, you has a higher degree of representativeness because you did select subjects from each group. But in cluster sampling, you did not get a representative from each group, alright? Even though you didn't get representative from each group, but cluster sampling is much easier and convenient to do. You pilih je group, dah semua orang masuk, settle. Okay, so cluster sampling ni is actually, normally, you will use this cluster sampling if the grouping of your population involve geographical factor. So for example, if you're doing a research about COVID-19 patients, and then you divide the population according to states in Malaysia. So there are 14 states in Malaysia, right? So it's better to use cluster sampling instead of stratified sampling or even random and systematic. Because if you use cluster sampling, then you will choose a few states. So you don't have to travel all around Malaysia to do the data collection. Get it? Alright, so normally cluster sampling is preferable, especially when the grouping of your population involve geographical factors. Okay, so that is all for this video. Please watch my next video for chapter 1.2.4, which is on the classification of data.